Now that was a movie. The Running Man is a brand new dystopian action thriller film directed by Edgar Wright, starring Glen Powell, Emilia Jones, Colman Domingo, and Josh Brolin. And this is yet another Stephen King adaptation this year. We've had several, but I don't know this story from Stephen King. I know it because of Arnold. Specifically because 1987's The Running Man is the movie in which Arnold has like the best one-liners. One-liners such as "to hell with you," as well as everybody's favorite,
well, that hit the spot.
But when I saw that they were rebooting this film and Edgar Wright was at the helm, I got really excited. I love Edgar Wright. I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker. Freaking love Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, so many amazing movies. But then you have Glen Powell attached to star in this thing. And this is an actor that I absolutely love. He's kind of just been on the come up and now he's here. He's just a movie star, but he's stepping into the shoes of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's crazy. And so I've been really curious to see how this movie goes. I just got out of it and guys, this movie rules. And so what is up, my friends? My name is Danny. Welcome back to Jones Vibes. Today I am reviewing The Running Man. I do want to let you know off the top this will be a spoiler-free review. So don't worry, I won't be ruining anything for you. As always, go down to the comments section, let me know your thoughts on this movie, and without further ado, let's dive in. So the synopsis reads, in the near future, The Running Man is the top-rated show on television, a deadly competition where contestants must survive 30 days while being hunted by professional assassins. Desperate for money to save his sick daughter, Ben Richards is convinced by the show's ruthless producer to enter the game as a last resort. Ratings soon skyrocket as Ben's defiance, instincts, and grit turn him into an unexpected fan favorite, as well as a threat to the entire system. And growing up watching The Running Man, I didn't get any of that. I didn't understand the story really, I just thought it was a fun movie. And so going into this one, I had heard that it was a much better adaptation of the Stephen King novel, and so I had that to look forward to. I saw the trailers, my hype continued to grow and grow, and I just felt very intrigued by this, but I don't think I expected it to operate at the level that it does. This is how a blockbuster should feel. And sometimes with Edgar Wright's filmmaking, it feels like he's operating at a high caliber, but it still feels a little bit indie. This, for one, feels like a blockbuster. This is Edgar Wright with all of the resources at his disposal. This showcases everything that he can do, and he has a freaking star at the center of it. I think something I want to compliment is just the world building. The world building was incredible. Within the first 5-10 minutes, like all of the details of the practical sets, you just get a really good sense and vibe of what's happening in this world, right? It's a dystopian film. It's a strange future that we're looking at, and it wastes zero time kind of setting the stage. You got this guy, he has a sick kid, he has a wife, he cares about his family a lot, he has some anger issues, and all of this is taking place in a world where the media manipulates and the 1% rules. And I know that the original film is very wacky as well, and I know that this is a sci-fi story, but I just didn't know how far they were going to lean into that. I would say that this feels like a Hunger Games. It almost feels fantasy in a sense. And I gotta say, and you know, luckily you have a filmmaker that probably can just get whoever he wants, but none of this works without phenomenal characters. And this cast is just windows to the walls, man. This cast is so good. I mean, obviously that starts with Glen Powell, and I want to talk about his performance for a minute, and I'll talk about him a little bit more towards the end, but what he does in this movie, or maybe I should say what he has to do in this film, is just carry it. He is the Running Man. He is Ben Richards, and the character has so much on his shoulders, and this is also sort of like a Truman Show situation where the entire world is watching him. So how do you react when you know everybody's watching you, when you know that some of that's probably going to be manipulated? How does all of that play out? It's a really fun time watching this character go through the motions. We do get to slow down a lot in this movie for large sections of the film and spend some time with him. So it's not just like one thing after another and you're not getting to know the character. I think the moments that Glen Powell gets to shine is when he gets to use his humor. He's a very witty and intelligent actor. And also it reminded me of freaking Hitman because there are a couple moments where he puts on some disguises and he's doing like impressions. And if you haven't seen the movie Hitman, go watch that movie because it's really great and it showcases Glen Powell as an actor. But he gets to do that again in this movie and you just see why he's so great. But everybody else, like from top to bottom, this cast is absolutely stacked. I'm going to talk about like the characters that stood out the most to me, but as for the other actors in this, listen to this. You got Josh Brolin, Katie O'Brien, Michael Cera, William freaking H. Macy, and Jayme Lawson. Like that alone is an incredible cast. But then you add these two performances. My favorite performance of the entire movie was Lee Pace. He plays Evan McConey, and he's basically the lead hunter hunter that hunts down the Running Man. And in this dystopian world where everybody's watching the television, they have like television ads with him, and he's like, "It's my destiny to find him." And he wears a mask for a majority of it, but you can hear that voice. And Lee Pace, his presence is larger than life. Anytime I see him show up in a movie, I'm excited about it. When I saw his name in the opening credits, I was very, very stoked about it. And then just his overall performance, he was so great. He was so great all the way up until the end of this movie. But another actor who's just one of my favorite actors right now, but I have to give him his flowers because he was one of the standouts in this movie, but that is Colman Domingo. And he's kind of like the Caesar Flickerman of this world, if we're comparing it to Hunger Games still. He plays Bobby Thompson, and he is the show's host, and the entire time we're cutting back to him. And sometimes these emotional moments, you know what I mean? After something happens and he's looking at the camera and he's like, well, this is another moment where the world stands still and somebody died. He's just so good, dude, and I could talk all day about his performance, but again, this cast from top to bottom is so great. Emilia Jones also in there. She has a lot of camera time in this movie. I didn't expect, but she did a really great job. But next, I want to talk about the good and the bad. Starting with the good, there's really just a couple things. Something that I already talked about a little bit, the world building, kind of this dystopian future. I think in the first The Running Man with Arnold, the future was set in 2017, so you don't really get that vibe when you go back and rewatch that movie. But when you watch this one, it is a little bit chilling because you're looking at this future and you're like, what the hell happened here? You have all of these people that don't even have phones anymore, but there is like a broad technology happening. And so with that being said, I think the thing that I appreciated the most about the film was that it wasn't trying to preach some overall message to you. It wasn't trying to like hit you in the face with it with dialogue. It was very much all about visual storytelling. It shows you things that makes you go, huh, that's strange, or it also shows you things that makes you laugh, you know what I mean? There were a few different visual cues amongst all of the crazy bright colors and action because it is an Edgar Wright film, right? So like the camera movements are really quick and fun and close up and personal, but there was a lot of visual stuff that was just very appealing and somewhat deep to me. But that's not to say that the dialogue doesn't have a message. There's like one specific monologue that takes place in this film that's kind of talking about like, hey, they're manipulating you. Like, can't you see that they want us to hate each other? Like, they're literally just manipulating everybody to hate each other so we don't see what's actually going on up there. And I love that message, dude. And I think that's always going to be relevant, but now, especially with social media, with how people behave towards one another, sometimes people get into these small little feuds that are happening. They let things consume their minds on such a massive level when really there's such a bigger picture here, you know what I mean? And you can just see this squabble taking place and you're like, this is so meaningless. Why are you spending your day like this? And so that hit me really hard, man. And I gotta say, it's probably the deepest message I've ever gotten from an Edgar Wright film, I think. So props to him for that. As for the bad in this movie, or the stuff that I would criticize a little bit, I would say the length. It doesn't need to be as long as it is. You are getting the worth of your price for admission, you know what I mean? And when you go to a movie, sometimes it is nice to sit there for 2.5 hours. I would just say there are a couple moments where this is dragging, and when you're at a movie called The Running Man, you're kind of hoping that that speed is pretty quick, you know what I mean? I think there's definitely a method to the madness, and I'm happy that it takes the time to breathe where it does, but if you cut out a couple scenes in this, you could trim it up a little bit and keep it closer to maybe like 2:05 maybe, or an even 2 hours, and it might work a little bit better. The other thing I would say is, although this movie is really funny at parts and the humor does work, it does kind of overstuff the humor at parts. There were a few different moments where I just laughed at something here and it kind of felt like it was going to go in more of a serious direction. We were going to really get somewhere, and then another bit would come through and I'd be like, okay, I get it. Let's keep going. But honestly, as far as criticizing, that's really about it. I mean, it was a great blockbuster. I have a couple more things I want to talk about just because they stuck out to me. The one thing I wanted to talk about was just the Stephen King connection. I love that this was another adaptation after The Long Walk this year, after The Life of Chuck this year, and right now I'm watching It, Welcome to Derry. That's amazing, and you have the Shining connection in that. Even in this movie, there are some Easter eggs to other Stephen King things, and I just love this like strange Stephen King world that we're getting right now. It's crazy. There's a lot of it, but the man is an amazing storyteller. better. And to see this story, I feel like you'll have to let me know down in the comments if it was a great adaptation, but I feel like it was definitely a closer adaptation than the original movie. But the second and last thing I want to talk about, and this is very predictable me, but I just want to say that Glen Powell has become a movie star. There was one moment in this movie where he's running. It is called The Running Man, and he does run a lot. And the dude had a run that was damn near close to Tom Cruise. And guys, I never thought that that would happen, but he's learning from the best. You know that him and Tom Cruise are friends, and he wants to have a career that kind of looks like that. This guy is so good, man. He's so charismatic and charming, but he can be really funny, but he can also be really emotional. He has a lot of depth to him just as a performer, and I can't wait to see what he does next. You know what I mean? He is the top bill at this point, and I would just say props to Edgar Wright for putting him in this role because it was perfect. But as always, my friends, I want to give my Jones Vibes star rating, and I am giving The Running Man 4.5 out of 5 stars. It deserves it, and I have no doubt about that. But if you go see The Running Man, please let me know your thoughts down below. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about this movie? Are you familiar with the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Have you read the novel by Stephen King? Is it a good adaptation? All that stuff. I would love to hear from you guys. Your opinion is always welcome around here. But more than anything, I hope you guys are out there keeping up the good vibes, and I will see you in the next video, okay? Peace!